Literally saw a hole blown in one of them.
straight from the truck.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. And even before I can say, no, don't do that, the best, like almost like a benchmark test. This video is brought to you by SVS.
SVS.
You gotta whisper every single time, eh?
Yep. That's the shtick.
Welcome to the One Bit Podcast, everyone. This is our official third episode. And today we're gonna be talking about the biggest mistake that we've made as hi-fi enthusiasts. And here you go. This is gonna be a good one. So Sean, do you have any vital mistakes that you made that hopefully our viewers can take something away from?
Okay, so this happens to people who tend to play with a lot of different equipment. If you do that and you're used to like unhooking a bunch of speakers and whatnot, there comes a point to where you get pretty lazy, and instead of turning the amplifier off, you just leave it on while you're disconnecting speakers, and you're just trying to keep the speaker wires from touching each other and creating a short. Well, if you do that enough, there will come a point to where you're going to mess up and the speaker cables are going to touch each other. And one time that happened to me, and I had a musical fidelity integrated amplifier. I forgot which one, but basically all of a sudden I heard a zzz, and then a big blue flash followed by a bunch of smoke just pillowing out of the chassis. At the time, that was like my dream product. So I basically had a breakdown. Thankfully, I was able to repair the product. You know, a few transistors blew. You literally saw a hole blown in one of them. But that was a big lesson to not be lazy when you're connecting speakers to your system. Turn everything off, for God's sakes. It can save you a lot of time and money. That's my first one. I'm an idiot.
Okay.
I think we're starting off by establishing I'm a careless idiot. But yeah, yes, your turn.
I mean, I think a lot of people like make mistakes like that, right? Like a
Yeah.
common mistake that even a lot of professionals make is like putting things out of phase, right? It's easy to, it's easy to.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's easy to do. Yeah.
I'm not to call out anyone specifically, but we've seen a lot of like stuff like that happen at shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a
Mm-hmm.
big deal.
Yeah.
People make mistakes, but yeah, for me, I'm gonna start one. One of the biggest mistakes that I made for myself was choosing components based on solely what other people say and measurements,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So one of the misconceptions that people have is that like I'm a subjective reviewer turned into measurements. Like I value
Objectivist,
measurements,
I
but
think is the word.
I always, and I can see that. I guess there's some truth to that, but I was always into measurements, like in terms of like not taking measurements, but more like believing in measurements, right?
Okay.
Like I'm a young audiophile coming into this. Like I liked computers and stuff, electronics in general. So, when I got into this, I was looking heavily into like objective data on like what's best.
Mm-hmm.
And I was excited that objectively great gear didn't cost that much.
Mm-hmm.
So I assembled my system, stuff like SMSL, topping, and
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing. And I assembled my system based on that, even speakers and so on. And I sat down thinking, oh, why do I not enjoy this? Is it because my ears are bad, or like,
Sure.
is it, and then for some reason I liked like vintage speakers. I love the way they sounded,
Yeah.
the warm richness.
Big
So
scale, all that stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I guess the takeaway is that my mistake is not hearing for myself
Mm-hmm.
and really listening to what other people say, what other people have to say on forums, measurements, those things are important, but those are the starting point, and you have to experience them for yourself. My mistake was like Joe's just buying them online, not offline, buying them online without even considering, any of these factors. Never having experienced hi-fi, I just went straight for the objectively better kind of components and speakers, not even thinking about synergy per se, and just throwing them in a system and saying, "Yep, this should be great," but it wasn't. So that was one of the biggest lessons where I was like, yeah, this isn't as easy as I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
I do have to have actual real life experience in setting stuff up. So that's when I realized that. And so that was a learning moment more than a
Mm-hmm.
mistake, I would say. But I guess all great learning moments come from mistakes.
And to be fair, man, I think it's not even just, an objectivist versus subjectivist thing, because I've made the same
Yeah.
mistake before. But instead of like saying, hey, I'm going to look at a bunch of different options that I can buy, and I'm going to go with the best measuring components, put together a system based off of that data, and hopefully, I'll enjoy the listening experience. I've done that before with subjective reviewers, right? Back in the day, there were a few really popular reviewers, and when they spoke, the market listened basically. And there were some products that they gave really good praise to. And instead of doing what I usually do, which is I look at what the reviewer has to say, but I look at what owners have to say and just try to, get amalgamation of opinions before I spend my own money, I just put my faith into these reviewers where they're influential for a reason, right?
Hmm.
So I bought these products based off of their reviews, and every single time I completely disagreed with their assessment. Like it wasn't even close. And it wasn't
Right.
about love or hate. It was like the sound that you described is not at all what I'm encountering. In fact, that's partially what inspired Zero Fidelity is that I would go to these companies, especially the smaller companies, and I would talk to the owners or even the engineers and be like, hey, without even telling them why I bought the product, I was like, hey, I bought your product. Here's what I'm running into. Would you say that's right or incorrect? Is that what you intended? And almost every time they're like, yeah, that's what we intended. And then I would drop the bomb of, I'm just curious, what did you think about this review then? Because they kind of said the opposite. And a lot of these guys openly admitted they're like, I mean, we're very thankful for the review, but we had to actually take the sample back to make sure it wasn't broken because we just don't know. We don't know what they were hearing and why. Like it
Yeah.
was just completely, it surprised them,
Yeah,
even if it
just
was
to
very
be
beneficial.
yeah,
Yeah.
just to be clear, I'm not like saying, objective data isn't important or anything
Yeah.
like that, right? Obviously I believe in objective data, but I think the mistake is not really researching what I want, what
Yeah.
is my subjective taste, and really just going for whatever measures the best, like almost like a benchmark test with like graphics cards, right?
Yeah.
Made you choke there.
On ice, on ice.
On
I was
ice.
trying to be, like, quiet with it, and that backfired.
What good podcast news headline? Zero Fidelity chokes on ice.
That didn't last long. So, but yeah, no, I agree with you, man. This isn't a grand statement about objective
Yeah, yeah,
data isn't good or that assembling a system full of components that measure well is gonna not be enjoyable to you, right?
yeah,
We need to emphasize that. It's just in Jay's scenario, he assembled a system based off of the data and he didn't enjoy it. But there's
yeah,
tons of other people who've done the same exact thing and they had the exact opposite reaction. They enjoy
yeah.
it. But to your point, it's all about learning the hard way that sometimes no matter what people say, who you read and, watch online, you got to figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, and I think, really kinda driving the point home with this
Yeah.
one, it's like, coffee, right? Like,
Hmm.
like blue Jamaican, no, what was that? Like coffee, like blue coffee? Like, there's, like, this re Jamaican blue
No,
mountain. Okay.
no, you lost me.
I totally lost you, but, anyways, there's, like, this coffee, like, people, like, coffee connoisseurs, and I'm one, right?
Hmm.
But I would drink any coffee, like, I would drink Tim's coffee if, as long as it's coffee, I would drink it. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I do appreciate, like, good tasting coffee, right, crafted
Okay.
coffee,
Okay.
and
Where are we
so
going with this?
I make a lot of coffee, at home, so when
Uh-huh.
people were, like, telling me, like, this expensive coffee beans are, like, the next, great thing,
Okay.
I got him, and I was underwhelmed. Like, I tried so many different things. I made espresso, drip coffee, press, French press, everything, and it just wasn't my taste. So I
Yeah.
finally confirmed from my friend who enjoys that coffee bean,
Hmm.
and he drank my coffee, I made it for him, and he was like, "Yeah, this is how it's supposed to taste." And I was like, "I don't enjoy that," you know? So
Yeah.
it's kinda like the same kind of
A lot of
theme.
parallels between food and hi-fi for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I guess moving on. So this is something that I learned the hard way. So
Mhm.
for those of you who are listening or watching right now, take this to heart. At some point, we all buy hi-fi and we sell some of the gear that we have, right? Unless you're one of those rare people who you make your first purchase and then you keep it forever. So when you go to sell your audio equipment and you have to ship it to somebody, do not make the mistake that I've made in the past, which is not insuring the packages.
Oh my
I've
god.
made this mistake actually more than once. I'm ashamed to admit it. But one time it cost me many thousands of dollars because what happened is I think I shipped it via UPS. They lost the package, just straight up lost it, and it wasn't insured.
Oh my
UPS
god.
didn't do anything about it. The customer didn't get their product. I had to refund them, and then I was just out of product. Just plain and simple.
Like, I
Screwed.
think that's because also, like, you're a good person, like, good person. That's, like, the first compliment I've ever given you. I'm
It
just
is.
joking.
Right
It's
before
not,
I'm
it's
gonna
not. Just
interrupt
to
you
be
for
clear, don't even go there, okay? The first episode that you were on, right? So the second
Yeah,
episode right before this video,
yeah,
people were, like, in the comment section, and I was, like, making a joke out of, the whole situation. I was like,
yeah.
there's so many people that love you. Like,
I
they
don't know about
they
that.
really love you, and so I'm a little bit jealous. But anyways, point aside, I think, because you're a decent person, you actually return the money, right? But
Yeah,
my experience is actually the opposite. So I would say, as a person that's buying something,
yeah,
right? Be sure that the sender is
mhm,
someone that's credible. Like, they
yeah,
have a lot of reviews on Canuck Audio, US Audio Mart, and so on in the
yeah,
used market, like eBay reviews and so on.
mhm,
At the same time, be sure, just because they have good reviews doesn't mean that the package is going to be insured every single time, right? So make sure that insurance is bought for the
yep,
package that you're receiving. So this lesson stems from the story that goes way back when I bought my first Paradigm speakers.
mhm.
Me being Canadian Korean, I bought Paradigm Signature 100s, I believe,
Okay,
right? Version 2s.
very good.
I like the way they look. Some
Yeah.
people are like, oh, those look kind of like, I don't know, like out of a Star Wars or like
Dude, I thought they looked badass.
War of the Rings kind of vibe. But I
Yeah,
liked it. I love the way it looked. So I bought it blind from Vancouver. Now, there's nothing against the sender. The sender, he and I had many deals throughout the years.
mhm,
Love the dude, but it was my fault that we didn't talk about insurance.
mhm.
So we were going for the cheapest because I'm a cheap ass, and especially back then, I was like
Yeah, you're
really
Scrooge
crunched for
McAsian for sure.
I was really crunched for money. So
Yeah,
I bought it for about 2,000 Canadian dollars, and the idea was to keep it around that price point. So shipping fees, we were like really trying to crunch it down to the minimum.
mhm,
So we didn't talk about insurance. It was like the cheapest shipping that we can get,
yeah,
and of course, it was UPS ground. And one day I wake up, I hear a ding ding, right? So I'm like,
mhm,
oh, someone's at the door. Oh, here's my Paradigm speakers. I'm so excited. It's supposed to arrive today. So I run down the stairs, open my front door. Nothing's there. So I'm just like confused. So I'm like, huh. And then I hear, and I'm like, what was that? So I run to my driveway in pajamas,
mhm,
and I see this UPS guy with sunglasses
yeah,
just throwing the speakers down straight from the truck.
yeah,
And I'm like, oh my God. And even before I can say, no, don't do that, the second one goes down, plops, right? And I'm just like, oh my God, those
yeah,
speakers. If you saw how they plopped to
yep,
the driveway, you would have been like, yeah, those speakers are gone.
mhm,
And so I'm like, not optimistic at all at this point. I open it up, and thankfully, the shipper, again, great guy. He had put the grills on to the speakers before shipping them. The
mhm.
grills were absolutely smashed to bits, but the speakers survived,
Okay,
and that was a miracle.
yeah,
But
yeah,
my heart literally dropped because,
yeah,
again, if you see how they dropped, you wouldn't think they survived.
yeah,
So, but anyhow, the lesson is make sure that you buy insurance
yep,
both as a buyer or sender. Agree on who pays for it, whatever, but
yep.
just make sure that it's insured.
I'd say just, split it down the middle if you wanna negotiate, just split it
Sure.
right down the middle, but you need insurance on anything that you find is expensive to you. This is an interesting segue for the sponsor of this video. SVS, a company that has
Yes.
great customer service. So,
Yes.
if you do find your new package to be absolutely manhandled by the carrier, one thing that SVS is known for is taking care of the customers. So, they will absolutely replace that on the house. You won't have to worry about it. In fact, and actually, to speak very seriously for a second about SVS, the customer service really is pretty top notch. In fact, I've had a friend who had one of their subwoofers that was way out of warranty, way out of warranty. It broke down. They contacted SVS, and I'm amazed at the level of service SVS provided. I mean, they basically got them almost a new sub.
Are you talking about me?
Or
Because that's exactly what happened to me.
yeah, yeah. I mean, no, I mean, I was shocked because I had basically very little to do with this. I was aware of the situation,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, SVS on their own volition, helped them out for, if I remember correctly, it was on the house.
Yeah.
And it's like I can't think of too many hi-fi companies that provide that level of service. And not only that, but they followed up a few days later to say, "Hey, how's everything working? Is there anything else we can do for you?"
Having a company like SVS, again, 5-year unconditional warranty on most of their products. SVS offers 45 days in-home trial, so you can make sure to try it out your home and make sure that you want the product. SVS also offers 60-day guaranteed price protection, meaning if it goes on sales after 60 days, you can contact them and get some of your money back, so that you don't feel like you overpaid when the discount happens right after you buy a product, which
Yeah.
always is a bad feeling.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Okay, so back to the topic at hand. So, I guess another mistake that I've made that cost me a significant amount of money was buying brand new products when I was still in the discovery phase.
Mhm.
I lost a lot of money doing that because, at the time I was like, "Oh man, I want to support the retailers," which is a good mindset to have, but I knew I wasn't going to keep the gear that I was buying. I was just trying
Mhm.
stuff out.
Mhm.
And there's the distinguishing factor right there. If you're buying products with the intention of keeping it for a long period of time, you can go ahead and buy new, enjoy the warranty, enjoy all that stuff, right? But if you're just trying to figure out what your sound is, what you like, what reacts to your room, to your, that's to your taste and yada yada, buying brand new while you're in that discovery phase can be very costly, unless, of course, you buy from companies that offer some kind of a trial period, 30-day, 60-day, to where at least you have a buffer to experiment around and to see if something is for you. But again, even then, you want to make sure that you intend to keep what it is you're purchasing. You're not just abusing somebody's offer. So but that was one of my bigger mistakes, because when I got into the hobby, not everybody was doing these 30, 60-day or even 15-day trial periods. In fact, that was
Nobody
kind of
was.
rare.
Nobody was. Yeah.
That was kind of rare. So because of which I lost a hell of a lot of money. So I guess this advice may apply more towards people in international markets, because here in the US we're pretty spoiled by this. But in other markets, yeah, just make sure that if you're going to buy something new, make sure that you intend on keeping what it is you buy, or else you're just going to lose your shirt on this stuff. Your turn.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't made a lot of mistakes. Not just joking. I have tons. One thing that comes to mind
Uh-huh.
is listening to friends, friends, whichever direction Sean's in.
You're treading on ice here. What
Um,
mistake was that? Huh?
so, um, without naming anyone, right? Audiophiles are very opinionated people, right? It's a weird kind of ironic thing, because even though this hobby, I think everyone can agree, is a very subjective hobby, and like
True.
literally every time I talk to an audiophile, they agree it's a subjective hobby,
Yeah.
right? Everyone agrees on that, but everyone is very opinionated on what is a good sound,
Mhm.
and when I entered this hobby, I listened because I was willing to experiment. I was like really motivated to try stuff.
Yeah.
So my friends, audio buddies, would recommend me stuff, but not in a like a hey, you should try this kind of way. But like if I bought something, X friend said, Y friend would be
Mhm.
like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Why would you buy that? That's shit. Buy
Yeah.
this. Right. And we see this all the time on like Facebook forums, forums in general, online, in my YouTube section, comment section, right? Everyone does this. Go, why would you buy Focal? Buy Wilson. Wilson sucks.
Yeah.
Buy BMW. BMW sucks. Griffin,
Yeah.
whatever, right? So I think that is I know people mean well, but I think that is not the best thing, because for me, as someone who came into the hobby,
Mhm.
um, when I did, I felt like I was constantly lost on like what's supposed to be good.
Yeah.
This person says this is good. This person says this shit. This is like a very confusing thing for a newcomer.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I realized yeah, I like these speakers for different reasons. I see what they're doing, but I had to learn that for myself, right?
Mhm.
I understood why my ex friend liked this product while my wife friend didn't, because their kind of hobby um, and preference was so far apart. So that was always kind of like my um, mistake, was like if my ex friend said this, I would go buy that. And then Y friend says this is shit, go buy that, I'll go buy that, right?
So give me
And
an
it was like,
example. Give me some examples.
I'll give you an example.
Okay.
So, um, a friend of mine said, buy the Sensui AU 717,
Okay.
right? And I bought it. And my other friend, I was enjoying it. I loved
Mhm.
it. But then my other friend, we were talking, and he was like, "Oh, you know, why would you buy Sensui? Don't you know that they're shit?" I'm like, "Okay, what am I supposed to buy?" And then he was like, "Buy Marantz, right?" I forget the model. I'll put a B-roll here of what I
Okay.
bought. And then so I went and bought that, right? And then I didn't like it as much as the Sensui, right?
Your friend must have only experienced like the late 80s Sansui. Like,
Yeah, and then and like
yeah.
there, and this happens with speakers, all sorts of things. But I was in that time frame, I was at a place where I didn't know exactly what I wanted, what my
Mhm.
preference was, and really my friends kind of like recommending different things and calling what each other has shit.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
guys knew each other. They always argued about like what's good, right? So I was like caught like in between, like trying to get that friend approval, basically, in a way where I
Yeah.
bought stuff just so that I can be friends, or I don't know, like
I get it.
be
Yeah, yeah.
relevant in the talk on both sides. And the truth was, my other friend, the one that recommended Sensui, was more closer to what I enjoyed. So I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that don't make the mistake of really buying to please your friend or be friends with someone, right? Be friends with someone that's accepting of your taste, right? It's like coffee. I had that guy that liked the Jamaican coffee, blue coffee,
Mhm.
but I didn't. We still talk about coffee, right? He knows what I like. I know what he
Yeah.
likes, but we're still friends. We still talk about coffee, and in fact, he always goes, "Oh, I don't like this, but you might like this bean. Try this out," right?
Yeah.
I think that's more valuable, and I think that is how it should be.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I mean, there's quite a few people I know in this space who we don't agree about a lot of different products, not necessarily with how it sounds, but our personal takeaway. Do we like it or dislike it?
Yeah,
And one of the great things about some of them is they don't take it personally at all. It's just literally
yeah.
like, oh, I like this. You don't like that? No, I don't. Oh, I wonder why. Blah blah blah. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
we
and
you
then
and
we
I
move on.
yeah, even you and I disagree all the damn time,
We
but, like,
do, and it's usually not
you
about the
know
sound of something, it's usually
yeah,
about whether or not we personally enjoy it or we feel like we could recommend it and who we could recommend it to, which is we're gonna have a separate video about that, and I'm looking
yeah,
forward to it. That's actually gonna be a lot of fun.
yeah,
But I think the important thing is having people who don't make you feel bad about your choices, and for the people, again, listening or watching right now, is to not let other people's opinions really bother you about your purchase, because I admit when I first got into audio, it did bother me when somebody talked trash about something that I have that I invested my money into. Not only that, but I really liked it,
yeah.
and I was like, "Oh
Just walk
man,
just
yeah,
walk away from those people and be
yeah,
friends
yeah."
with people that can understand what
Or
you
close the
like,
tab or
like
whatever, man, because you learn
yeah,
a lesson the hard way. There's gonna be tons of people who hate what you love, and it's just like food. Some people like ketchup, some people don't. You have to think of it the same way. It's like,
yeah,
that's just it. And they're gonna have strong opinions. They're gonna say strong words like, "Oh, it's crap."
yeah,
Like, you just have to ignore it. In fact, that's actually not completely related to this topic, but if somebody makes definitive statements like that, like this is the best or this is horrible, I just ignore them entirely. Like
yeah,
at that point, it's just like I don't care if you're a professional reviewer or just a casual enthusiast. Anybody who makes a definitive statement like that in audio, automatically, I don't care about what you have to say about anything. It's just
yeah.
they're
I
done.
mean, like, look, it's gonna be dependent on like again, we all agree that audio is subjective, so
Yeah.
like there shouldn't be an argument, but like
It's a lot of money, man, a lot of passion, and,
but back to
yeah.
back to you. What's another mistake that you've made?
I think we covered everything that I had written
You don't have any more
down.
mistake. I have like another like 15 mistakes that I made. No, I'm just joking. I don't.
I think we covered everything that I can personally think of that I think would be valuable to people. I think
I have one
yeah.
more. If you don't
Okay,
have one, I'll let
okay, please.
my mistakes shine.
Okay,
Um,
okay, please, because I'm, like, on the hook here.
Music taste,
Okay,
okay, or music choice, I should say,
okay,
okay? And, for me, I think Steve Guttenberg is a big advocate of this as well.
okay.
Like, I remember him talking about this, and I was like, "Yes! Yes! Yes, Steve!" Right? Um, Personally for me, like, I enjoy stuff that other people don't enjoy, okay? Meaning, like, because I'm young, I play modern recordings. I still enjoy well-recorded music, but I made a mistake very early on in my hi-fi journey as I got more high-resolution speakers, right? Like, I
Mhm,
was out of phase some time ago where I was chasing for, like, the highest kind of fidelity, the most transparent and, the most nuanced speaker out there,
mhm,
and that was, a time where I only literally chose my music that I play based on how well it was recorded.
mhm.
Because if I put any of my poor recordings onto that speaker, let's say the Usher, I'll name products. Usher, I said I would name it, but I forgot the model name. Again, here's a picture. Um, like I went through a lot of speakers. Okay, uh, that speaker with the DMD tweeter, oh
Mhm,
my goodness, it was so revealing. Like it's a good speaker, but it was
mhm,
very revealing. And
mhm.
playing any poor recording through that, oh my god, it was like it was a train wreck. Like my ears
Yeah,
were ringing. And so I didn't play anything other than well recorded music on that speaker, and it
mm,
sounded amazing with well recorded music. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah,
poor recordings sounded absolute ass. And guess what happened to those poor recordings that I enjoy, have nostalgia, and really really love these tracks? I didn't play them for like an
yeah,
entire year or something like that. I never played them. It was only after I got my JBL L300s, which is a totally different speaker, right?
yeah.
Not revealing, really really, colored in some ways, and musically, at least for me, very enjoyable. I
Mhm,
could play any track, any music piece on that speaker, and it would give me joy.
yeah,
Now, did it dissect every nuance out of the well-recorded music, best recordings? No, it wasn't like the Ushers.
yeah,
But the fact that I could just play any music that I wanted was a bigger value to me. And so for me, I think the mistake here was that like my music choice being dictated by the gear that I buy. I think
mhm.
that's fundamentally wrong. And some people may disagree with me on this, like hardcore audiophiles. That's absolutely for
I've
the
met those
highest
people, yeah,
recordings, right?
yeah,
And I
mhm,
that's fine. If that's your
yeah,
thing, look, it doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with me. It's okay to disagree.
mhm,
But for me, I don't want to be dictated because for me, even though I like all this gear and all this kind of stuff because I'm a nerd, I love audio. I love music. And so if I'm choosing what I play as content based on what I buy,
mhm.
that that per that's not my solution, right? That's not my thing. So that's kind of the mistake I made. And so my message is make sure that the gear that you buy serves you, and the music that you like, not the other way around.
Yeah, and I think I think it's a mistake that people sometimes have to discover on their own, which is as you ascend up the audio chain, bless you, you get more resolving products, but there's a trade-off with that. You start to hear things that you may have never heard before in your recordings, even from your more affordable audio gear. But now you start to hear how trashy, like those alternative rock music from the 80s, like how poorly that was recorded. It sounds like somebody basically took a styrofoam cup and a string and put it in a bathroom, and that's how they came up with it. And it's going to be rendered very obvious through some of those components, right? So, and sometimes the only way you learn that lesson is you chase the dragon, so to speak. You want more and more and more until you discover it's like, oh man, maybe I pushed too far.
have
Especially if
you
you listen to recordings that aren't
have
well
you
done.
not made that mistake that I just talked about, Sean?
What's that?
Have you not made the same
No, because
mistake?
I was aware of
Really?
it. I was already
Oh,
aware of it. So
see, it was all
I knew what I was getting
I
into.
should have talked to you before making these mistakes. That's why we're doing this podcast, okay?
Yeah.
Um, but I
Yeah.
mean, I think in a similar way, and like music, like resolution, right? You talked about
Mhm,
resolution. I think that's another mistake that I made. Like honestly, bro, I chased resolution like
mhm.
DSD, like
Oh, yeah.
FLAC.
Yeah,
And these
yeah.
were the days where I didn't stream at this point. Like,
Mhm.
believe it or not, I didn't. stream because this may sound stupid, but I didn't stream because of the
Mhm.
monthly subscription. Okay, I was like, no, I'm not gonna pay that.
Like I
I
said,
I
Scrooge
need every
McHaven over here.
no, I needed every dime saved. Look, I was eating instant ramen. People think I'm joking, but I was actually eating instant ramen to save money. There's a
Yeah,
reason I'm this skinny. Okay, I was literally eating instant ramen, not a joke.
yeah,
To save every dime for audio, to buy audio. There was no other way around it. You know, I was making minimum wage at the time. So uh for me, subscription of and playing streaming, was like no go. So I downloaded files, bought the music that I would absolutely play, that I enjoyed, and I would, buy them in FLAC, upscale them to DSD and all this sort of thing, only
mhm,
to find that those things don't matter as much as people think. Okay, as much as I thought. Okay, it might matter to you. Okay, and that's
mhm.
fine. People talk about analog versus digital, turntable versus reel to reel versus
Yeah,
streaming. Sure, if that matters to you, but for me, as someone that has been to recording sessions, that has mixed and mastered,
mhm,
for me, I already know that it's highly dependent on how the track was made, how it was
yeah,
recorded, the
mhm.
quality. I mean, I just talked about Taylor Swift in my recent Orendo 1528 bookshelf review.
Are you Swifty?
Taylor Swift?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, you can say any you can trash whatever you want. You can shame me all you want. But
No, dude, bro,
there
I
is
got 2 of her albums,
yeah,
like,
there
straight up
exactly.
CDs sitting next to me.
There's no question,
I'm not
okay?
ashamed. Yeah,
Objectively speaking, there is no question. You can ask anyone in the studio world. There's no question how well it was recorded, mixed, and mastered. Okay, they have a large budget. Taylor Swift,
mhm,
obviously, very big, right? So it doesn't matter if you like them or not. It's well mixed and mastered and well recorded. They're using expensive stuff. They're, even their bare minimum is probably like way above like most budgets for mix and mastering studios, right?
yeah.
So it's well recorded. And for I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about?
Oh,
Oh
no.
yeah. So it's about how it's about how well it
I
was
lost my train of
recorded,
thought too.
right? It's about how well it was recorded. And if you want to take that recording to the next level and like really push it to upscale to DST, sure. If that's your thing and you really love your music, that's fine. But I'm saying it's about how well it's recorded. It drives me absolutely nuts when audiophiles, including myself, like take poor recordings like Aerosmith, right? Dream
Mhm.
On, and then try to upscale that to DSD, thinking that it's gonna suddenly magically make it sound better when it's a
Yeah,
poor recording, was recorded poor. It's great music piece. But I'm not saying the composition is poor. I'm saying the
yeah.
quality of the recording, right? The quality of the recording. If they think about it this way, if they record it with a $2 microphone,
Mhm.
right, you're not gonna make that $2 microphone sound like a $20,000 microphone by upscaling it to DSD. Not gonna happen,
Yeah.
right? If the recording engineer misplaced the microphone, right, like 10 feet away from the singer's mouth, that's not going to be fixed with DSD. It's done. Okay. So there's no way to fix that by upscaling. So I get a little bit frustrated when I review a streamer, a CD player, whatever, and then
Mhm.
the first few comments are like, "Oh, does it do DSD?" Because how many DSD files are out there? You're all upscaling it. Okay, you're
Well,
either
never mind natively recorded in high resolution. That's a big thing.
exactly
We're not talking about upsampling or anything like that. We're talking about native recordings. There's very few,
right.
very, very few that exist in this world. But, I think this kind of circles back around to you just got to experience it for yourself. There's some people who swear by it, man. And good on you.
Yeah.
I mean, if it does something for you, hell yeah, man. I mean,
Look, these are all just
there's options out
opinions,
there.
right? Like
Yeah,
I'm
that's
very
exactly it.
again, I'm a strongly opinionated audiophile, just like any of you, and I think for me, it drives me nuts when someone's like, "Oh, I'm gonna upscale this, recording that shit and somehow make it really amazing by upscaling to DSD." I'm like, no, it's one thing to upscale really well recorded music to like really make it shine,
Yeah.
right? If you really, really enjoy it. It's another whole thing to think that you're upscaling something and then it's just getting better and better and better. It doesn't happen that way. So,
Mhm.
anyways, I'm just very
It's funny for
opinionated
you to
about
take
that.
this stance, and yet streaming is your main way of listening to music, but,
It's not.
that's a topic for
It's
another day.
not.
Is it not?
You
How do you normally listen to
that's
music?
so literally I
Mhm.
literally use my turntable and reel to reel
Okay.
more and CD player more than my streaming. In fact, streaming is like maybe like 30% of my listening.
So everyone, I'm laughing because everyone needs to
Mm.
know I'm hearing this for the first time. Out of all of our many conversations, you're like, of course I stream. You never
Yeah.
mention vinyl. You never mention CD, especially CDs. So I'm hearing this for the
Well,
first
because I'm very passionate about like new technology as well, right? And
time.
so I always say this in my videos, and this I know this is why like this is I know you don't watch my videos because I can tell, right? People can correct
When's
Sean
the
on
last
this,
time you
right?
watched mine? Well, okay,
Uh,
not fair example, but you
when's the
get it.
last time you posted?
Whatever.
Get posted,
You
get
know
to
what I
work.
mean.
If you agree, comment down below. Work, Sean. Get to posting videos on your channel.
Yeah,
But anyways, like I'm I still think CD players sound better than streamers, and people
sure.
know I stand by that. I still think to this day that dollar for dollar, CD players, even turntables sound better than streaming.
Mhm.
Streaming is just new tech, and I see the merit. I see it getting better. Like
There's
even it's
significant merit to
increment,
it,
yeah.
for sure.
And
Yeah.
over the years, I'm getting excited because I see the improvements, and
Yep.
so I know it's relevant. I know people want streaming, the convenience of it. It's the only the fidelity aspect that's kind of like it's not there yet. And for me to that's why I get excited about it.
And for
But
some people it is, right? I
yeah,
mean, for some people it's good enough. And, and that's the important thing that I want to hammer home here, just because I do kind of lean into the reputation I have of being so biased against streaming. But the
you
real
don't stream at
reality,
all. You don't even. People have to
no, I
know he
don't.
doesn't
I mean,
even have a streamer.
I've had plenty of streamers though.
You
I
do?
just don't talk. Yeah, I just don't talk
Oh.
about it because Anyways, but on a serious note, it just doesn't matter how you enjoy your music so long as you do, whether streaming, turntable, reel to reel, CDs. And there's a hell of a lot of merits to streaming. It's just for me, look at this room I have. Right, I don't need streaming. Like the most I
What do you
stream is on
mean?
YouTube.
Nah, do you still use a flip phone?
I replaced my flip phone in 2020. I had
All
one all
right.
the way up
I
until
remember I was like keep making fun of you for that.
now.
Is that
Yeah.
Starbucks? Is that fruit punch or
Yes.
something?
Yes, it is. This is a passion fruit tea.
Don't they
Yeah.
call that like the Dragon KO or something like that?
No, I think it's a different one.
Okay, I don't
But
know.
anyways, I think we've gone off the rails here.
Yeah.
We've
But
lost
that's
sight
pretty
of our
much it. I
topic.
mean, that's pretty much it in terms of like the mistakes. I think it's fair to say everyone has made their mistakes, here and there.
Yeah.
Um, I've made a lot of mistakes. I can say for sure. But I think you learn from that, and like I said, all valuable lessons come from mistakes. And as long as you learn from it, and hopefully some viewers watching this video will be like, yeah, I made that mistake and I learned from it, or oh, I'm not gonna make that mistake.
I hope it's the latter too. I hope people are going to listen to this and say, I'm not going to be like Sean. I'm not going to be that idiot that literally tries to swap speakers while the amplifier is still on. If at least one person takes that away from this video, I'm going to be completely content. So,
Dude, some
yeah,
people have to experience it for themselves. Okay, look, Tujin. Do you remember
yeah,
Tujin,
I
my
do.
friend?
Mhm.
Still great friends.
Mhm.
And every single time I give him advice, he literally doesn't follow it, makes the mistake, and he goes, live and learn. So,
Just like I know somebody else who does the same thing.
okay, with that, thank you for watching the One Bit Podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Until next time.
Peace.
We're driving cars on a Mars tonight. We're blasting off to the stars tonight.